Hello and welcome. This is EyeAS Academy, an online education platform for UPSC Civil Services examination and other competitive examinations. Now that the results for the preliminary examination 2021 are out, those who have cleared the preliminary examination must be worried about the general studies and the essay paper for the UPSC mains. Essay is a very crucial aspect of the UPSC examination, for it carries a weightage of 250 marks and it can guarantee you good score, which can make up for any loss in the score in the GS examination. So EYES Academy has brought a essay writing program for you. Let's see how to write a good essay. For that, let us see what the UPSC demands. The UPSC has given instructions that the candidates may be required to write essay on multiple topics. There are two sections in the UPSC essay paper, section A and section B. Each section has 4 topics, out of which candidates are to choose one. So in all, they will be writing 2 essays in 3 hours time, each essay carrying 125 marks. They will be expected to keep closely to the subject of the essay. This is very important, that you should not deviate from the topic which is given in the examination as the question. To arrange their ideas in an orderly fashion and to write concisely. Credit will be given for effective and exact expression. Herein the power of your language would come into picture. And the UPSC also cautions that there will be deduction in marks for illegible handwriting. So your handwriting also must be legible. Further, we can deduce from the instructions of the UPSC that in the essay in particular, not only the content but also the language is important. Whereas in GS paper, it will be the content that will be more important, but in essays, it's the language that becomes more important. Definitely, the content is also important. So there should not be any spelling mistake. There should not be any grammar error. Then the score will be on a higher level. The ideas which you present while writing your essay on any topic that you choose must be logically arranged. There must be a flow between what you have written. And structure is the most important requirement. In conclusion, we can say that structure is the most important requirement for writing a good essay at UPSC examination. So how to structure? As an answer in the GS, even the essay can have this structure of introduction, body, and conclusion. But unlike GS, the essay demands a good language, a good structure, and a good conclusion. How can we introduce an essay? Overall, the features of the introduction to be kept in mind is that introduction must hit the meaning of the topic you have selected. You may go on with any topic of your choice, but in the introduction you must hit the exact meaning of that topic. The meaning should not deviate from the expected meaning of the topic. In the introduction, you can set a tone for the essay. You can be positive about the topic, you can be negative about the topic, and it will be your duty to continue this tone more or less throughout the essay, even in the conclusion. The introduction must be such as to grab the attention of the evaluator. So it must be eye-catching. It must create curiosity. it must be presented in a concise way. So often students, they do have the tendency to write very lengthy introduction. They consume the entire page of the answer booklet without even coming to the actual meaning of the topic, and therein they may lose marks. So the introduction should be concise, bringing out the meaning of the topic, and that must appear in the first page of the answer booklet itself. That may occur in the second paragraph, no problem, but it must come in the first page. Okay, there are different ways in which a good introduction to an essay can be given. The popular ways are to contextualize the topic. That means to bring the topic in present context, why it has been asked. So you try to give a context around the topic, that may be from the current affairs, that may be out of a theme, out of some ideas that are flowing, out of the developments that are taking place. So moreover, it's giving a context, giving a perspective to the topic. Then you can go on to historicize the topic, wherein you will give the preface as to how the topic has come into evaluation. You may write about the social history of the topic. For example, the government. How the government formation has taken place since the ancient periods. You can go on to write those, but in a concise way, in the first page of the answer booklet itself, so that the meaning comes out in the first page of the answer booklet itself. If somebody may go for writing an anecdote which is a real life incident, or they may create a fictitious character and view a story around him. That is also a very good way of introducing an essay, because it will generate interest in the minds of the readers. Then a popular way of writing introduction is through quotes. You can give relevant quotes pertaining to the topic you selected. They will be your opinion which is agreed upon. So they need not be irrelevant to the topic. Apart from this, some ways of writing an introduction also includes writing a question to start with, or giving the definitions of the terms involved in the topic, or giving some surveys like 1 million people were affected from these incidents, etc., or giving some facts and figures. And that is, though, not a very popular way of starting an essay, but in GS answer it is the most popular way to start with definitions or facts. But nevertheless, it can also be used in essay if the topic you choose goes good with that type of introduction. So these are broadly the ways in which we can introduce an essay. What style to choose will depend on your personality and your practice. Now coming to the body of the essay. Having written a good introduction, in the body we will continue with the idea that we have presented in the introduction part. We'll also continue with the tone that we have taken in the introduction. Now, one should keep in mind while designing the body of the essay that there must be diversity. This is the most important aspect of an essay, diversity. The essay must be structured in a way that you are giving variety of ideas or a variety of points, and each idea or each point is confined to a small paragraph of 5-6 lines. The Paragraphs are arranged one after the another such that there is an organic link between the different paragraphs. So there must be a flow in the body of the essay. How to maintain that flow? That will also come from practice. You can, once you practice this, it will be easier for you to write an essay on the day of examination. You should keep in mind that there must be no deviation from the topic. This is very important. You should also see that you don't get overwhelmed by any topic and you don't go to the extent of abusing or using harsh words. There must be no provocation. You'll have to take care of your sentiments, temperament in the examination hall. And remember, the essays should be written in simple language. It should be a natural way of expression rather than using technically loaded language. Definitely, technically loaded language won't be appreciated by the evaluator and you will end up getting lesser marks. So, you should write in a simple language which is easily comprehensible by a common man. Okay. So, keeping these things in mind, what are the tools that can be used for designing a body of essay? You must give a diversified content. You can give various concepts, themes. It's very important to give different examples wherein you are substantiating what you claim in your essay. It's good to represent facts from the books you have studied, from the surveys you have noted down. For example, economic survey. To raise issues, different issues, and bring them to a logical conclusion. To raise arguments, you can raise controversies in your essay. You can argue for and against and then logically come to a conclusion pertaining to the tone you have taken for your essay. And you must keep revisiting the topic of the essay so that the interest of the examiner is not lost and the relevance is brought in again and again throughout the essay. There is a great scope for novelty in writing essay, and it is appreciated if you come out with some novel suggestions, solutions to the problems that you mention in the essay. And there is a scope for your creativity, how creative you can be with your presentation. That is up to you, but that will definitely add to your score. So as we said, diversity is the most important aspect which one looks for in the body of the essay. As a rule of thumb, you can devote 1 page of your answer booklet for a particular area. The areas can be many. Some illustrative headings have been written here. You can write about the social context. You can talk about women, youth, old aged people, the Divangs, and bring in variety to your essay. Likewise, you can talk about the political aspects, the cultural aspect, the economic aspects, the psychological aspect, the environmental aspect, which is very important these days, the socio-economic aspects like the poverty, unemployment, etc., mortality. Individual, you can talk about an individual perspective from the perspective of a house, of a society, of a local entity. You can talk from the perspective of globalization. You must take in the ethical aspects while writing the body of the essay. You can take aspects from the history, from geography. There is no binding. You can use n number of different headings, different aspects in your essay that will make your essay enriching, fulfilling, and also generate interest in the mind of the reader. So this is a very effective tool you can exploit while designing the body of an essay. Before you go on to write an essay, in the initial hours, you must write a rough sketch on the pages for the rough work that are provided in your answer booklet. And after that, go in to write the proper essay wherein you will be logically representing your points. Then after the introduction and body comes the conclusion. Once again, you must keep in mind that the conclusion must be relevant. It should not be that you have written an essay on a topic but you are concluding something from an entirely irrelevant topic. The conclusion should not be pessimistic, it must be optimistic. That's the individual trait the UPSC is looking for. Definitely, the conclusion must be based on your content. In the conclusion, you can provide a way forward. For example, you may have pointed many problems. You may try to give solutions to those. You may say how the future is going to be pertaining to that particular topic. And because conclusion is the last part of the essay, the examiner is going to allot you marks based on the conclusion more than anything else, as the conclusion will be summarizing the entire essay that you have written in a few sentences. Now, in case you have missed certain points that come to your mind afterwards, you can include that in the conclusion, but that must be done very cautiously to see that that point which you are trying to include in the conclusion is not altogether incoherent to what you have written, or is not such that it is going to change the tone of your essay entirely. So cautiously add something which you have missed out, but that must be in coherence to what you have earlier mentioned in the body of the essay. You can end your essay with quotes, shlokas, or certain constitutional ideals. And you need to maintain the tone. As we said, we are taking a tone, positive, negative in the introduction part. We are continuing it throughout the essay, and it must be maintained in the conclusion also. Should not be so that you are positive initially and directly getting negative in the conclusion. You can give suggestion, and you must give suggestion if you have selected such type of topics. You, and while doing so, you can go in for short term, middle term, long term perspective. Definitely you can provide probable solutions 1 2 3 4, and you can say which one is the best feasible and practicable one to be followed. Now usually there are two, the topics in the section A will be such wherein you can give a futuristic perspective to your conclusion, how the future is going to be like. After summarizing the content, you can say how the future is going to be like. And in the section B part of your essay, the questions will be such that they will be more administratively relevant. There you can conclude by giving suggestions, probable ones, in the penultimate paragraph, and then in the final conclusion you can say which can be the best way out, which is practicable and feasible. So this variety you can bring in the conclusion of section A and section B. So this is how we can conclude. Now we have said many things in theory, and you are expected to put in all these theoretical things in practice while you're writing your essay in the examination. So what to do? The only answer is practice. And EYEAS is bringing an essay writing practice 2021. We will be conducting 10 papers, so you will be accessing 80 topics, out of which you will be attempting 20 ones, for which you will be given personalized feedback and video analysis for important topics. So don't waste time. You have limited time now. Enroll and start preparing. All the best.